Hello and welcome to Become the Teapot. I'm Judge Iain.
I am the law!
And I'm also Judge Iain.
I am the law.
And I'm Judge John.
I am the law!
As you may have guessed, this week we're covering Judge Dredd.
That is to say, the 2012 movie Dredd, not the Sly Stallone version.
Thank God for that.
Firstly, can we just take a moment to appreciate how much emotional range Karl Urban can convey while frowning the entire way through for 90 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand how anyone can... I feel like he should have won an Oscar, right? Because he acts so well without really using any of his face at all through the entire movie. I feel like if you had had someone else in that role, I'm not sure the film would work anywhere near as well, but Urban really does a really great job.
I agree with you.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. I think just from the chin down, and that is all you see of Dredd in the comic books as well.
From the what? From the chin down?
From the nose down, I suppose. The bottom of the nose
chin
down.
down's his neck.
I suppose, yeah. The mouth down. There we go.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, you saw this. I've lost my track now. Yes, he asked the same question 3 times, which is, "Are you ready, rookie?" And each time is a slightly different delivery, and you get the feeling that he has a slightly different response to her answer each time, even though it's the same line of dialogue performed in 3 ways. And it is just one example in this film of, like you say, a tightrope walk that you're going to be doing here is that it could be something that you just have no connection to this character at all. But I think they really nail it with Karl Urban.
I do feel that in the film, there's a bunch of one-liners that he does say, but it doesn't feel cheesy because he's not saying them to be funny. It is the truth. Like the comic, he's very black and white. You know, see, there's the bit where, I don't know, his boss or whoever says, "Oh, you've got to chuck her in the deep end." And he's like, "It's all the deep end." But it's true. He's not there going, "Hey, winky, winky." Although you couldn't see it if he was winking anyway, so it doesn't really work.
Maybe he was winking.
He probably was.
After every one-liner, you got to imagine Dredd is leaning in and giving a big old wink.
Just, yeah. In every scene, he is making full eye contact with the camera. You just can't see it, but he's just staring you down. No, but it's a good point, because I think if there was even like a hint in his delivery of irony, it would in many places ruin the movie, because you would get that kind of like, oh, this is ridiculous. But because he really sells that every statement he says utterly sincerely and with no hint of irony at all, it really works the whole way through. So I think you are right that it's the delivery of the one-liners that avoids the movie becoming incredibly cheesy very quickly.
Yeah.
There's one that's a little bit cheesy. It's towards the end when he's like, wait for what? Wait for her to shoot you.
Yeah.
I do like it, but that one's a tad cheesy.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. It's the only one that's a little bit borderline. But obviously, Judge Dredd in the comic book as well has a huge amount of these one-liners. He does say these things that are very cheesy all the time. And I really like that they introduced that in here. But like you said, they really stayed true to the character in the fact that he is absolutely resolute in what he is saying. He is so hardline. I love the fact that he's like arresting vagrants. Have you watched the Sly Stallone Judge Dredd recently at all?
I have not at all.
Nope.
Okay, wow. Right, well, I'd say that's another episode. Let's do that another time. It's a very different experience. Takes off his helmet within 5 minutes of being on the film.
Also, because I saw it on my TV box thing and it said it would cost me like £9 to buy it, and I was like, I'm not spending £9 to watch that.
Yeah, it's not worth that. No, don't worry about it. I mean, he spends a lot of the time in the cursed earth without any of his judge gear, so it's just Sly Stallone running around in the desert. It's not good. And this is the thing, that was more overtly comedic. They even had like a comedy sidekick character. It was very 90s action movie. And I think that's perhaps one of the reasons this underperformed, is because most people's memories of Judge Dredd, who was going to see this film in 2012, still remembered the late 90s version that was absolutely terrible. Yeah.
Well, they thought it was a sequel of sorts.
Yeah, maybe.
I wanted to... So Iain said a while ago that Judge Dredd is very black and white. And one of the things I really love about this movie is that you see, as the movie progresses, he is very black and white and he's very sure of his opinions, but he's not black and white in the way you think at the beginning, because at the end, when the Chief Justice asks him about Anderson's performance, he is black and white there, and he's made the right decision, and he's made that decision for the good of the city, but it isn't necessarily the decision you think he would have made when you're watching the beginning of the movie. And I like the progression of the movie because it doesn't feel out of character at all, but it does show that he is kind of not just... So there's very little fat in this movie. Like, if something happens, it's happening because you need to know the thing that it's telling you, or because it's going to come up later.
Or because it's really cool.
But at the beginning, where he's chasing the narcotics, the three guys who are taking narcotics in the van, he only starts firing when they hit the guy.
Yeah.
Like, the point at which he escalates from giving chase to hot pursuit, like with firearms, is the point at which they become murderers. It sets up the fact that he is overreacting, because obviously the judges are, in real life, a horrific overreaction to crime.
Yes.
But in the context of the movie, he is reacting proportionately to what's happening. And that is an important thing. And it shows you it very cleverly and very subtly. And if I hadn't been paying attention, like the first few times I watched this movie, I didn't notice, but taking notes I did. Like, oh, this is setting up that he isn't responding to everything by going in all guns blazing. He is kind of being more subtle than that. And I thought that was very good.
That's what I called going full Dredd, because that is what happens.
Yeah.
I feel like that's almost the opposite of John's point. But
Well, no, but he goes...
After the,
so the escalation,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, he always acts within his own, within the frames of the law, and he follows it to the letter, clearly, as this idea that if someone's not killed anyone, well, of course, I'm not going to use lethal force. I'm not just going to shoot everyone. But as soon as you killed someone, the punishment is death at that point. Now, whether or not that should be in one man's hand it's a question for perhaps a different podcast.
Not ours.